Hello and good day, and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Jade Harrell, and I'm joined by Teena Love, Amy Rivera, Amber Clear, and Miss Jami Ballantyne Dolby. Hello, ladies.
Hey,
Hello.
Welcome back. It's great to see you all again.
it's great to see you. Look at you. You look so
Yes.
flashy and pretty. I love it.
Yes.
I'm in a building.
I know, like I'm jealous.
Looking all exotic.
I know.
I want you to welcome all the sunshine and all your loveliness too. A lot has happened since we last came together, and we're going to get to all of that in a minute. But I wanted to see what you might have been listening to since we were last together. Where are you right now, Amber? What are you listening to lately?
Still listening to Tony Robbins. He talks a lot about the power of positivity and how that your past does not equal your future. And no matter what you have came from, that you can still be whatever you want. And sometimes I need a little reminder of that. Even though I'm the happiness enthusiast and all positive, just a little bit of boost every now and then with Tony Robbins or whoever really helps.
Okay, so is that the podcast or a book,
Yeah.
audio book?
Yeah, he's got a podcast. He has a couple audiobooks, but right now I just pick a random podcast episode. So nothing
Well, it
is
seems to be
sequential
doing
with
the
me.
trick. You
Yeah.
look fantastic and look well, so it must be doing the trick. How about you, Miss Teena Love? What are you listening to?
Well, speaking of the whole, Women's History Month, right? So I am listening to Audible and Cicely Tyson's book, Just as I Am. And it's fantastic. It really just in the beginning, she actually opens up with her voice. Then Viola Davis does a forward, and then the rest of the book is read by another person. But it's fantastic. It just walks you through her life, starting from when she was born till when she left the earth.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Powerful, powerful. I heard an interview on her last week of life. She didn't know, but she was just as vibrant and engaging. I know that's going to be some good stuff. What
Mhm.
about you, Amy?
It's good.
Yeah, it sounds good. It's funny, Amber beat me to it. I've been listening to Tony Robbins too a lot lately. I've even in some of his him and Ed Milet, I've been listening to both of them. And like Amber said, they have YouTube channels that you can just click on and listen to an episode. They have podcasts, but I was telling Amber privately earlier that I've been kind of dealing with some just emotional baggage lately, and this is really helping me remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. So Amber beat me to it, but I've been listening to Ed Milet and Tony Robbins, just some power of positivity, and Amy Cuddy, and just kind of helping me get through these challenges that I'm dealing with personally. So
Amen. Well, I'll take that as a
Yeah.
high recommendation that's come from the both of you. Miss Jamie Valentine Dolby, what are you listening to?
I am still listening to Clubhouse because you guys know I love Clubhouse. It's the best. That's my main thing. And then I'm also listening to Jasmine Sullivan's latest album. So her with a little extra Angie Stone in there. But mainly I've been on Clubhouse. Like I'm all things Clubhouse right now because I can get through my entire day, night, breakfast, middle of the night, all with a good Clubhouse room. So that's what I'm really
Okay.
listening.
I'm going to have you take me through a Clubhouse tour so I can jump in and enjoy it too. I have a feeling I'll be hooked.
Right.
You will be hooked. Yes.
yeah.
I'm sure. Well, for me, I'm doing some spring
I need a
cleanup
train.
around the house, and I found an old CD from college days on radio, and I'm listening to the old Jade at like 21 years old on turntables on the radio, and it's pretty
How is that
revealing.
for you? I mean, are you like sitting there going, is this really me? Or
I know it's bananas, but it's a great time capsule, and it talk about women's history. My history came back and met me on that CD.
yeah, I mean, I bet that's really cool though. I mean, that's neat. That's neat.
Yeah, it just when I remember what it was like then, and
Mhm.
then replaying that, it just takes me right back in time. It was really great. I'll
Oh,
share it with you.
And
We'll
you
have
had a CD player around to play it. That's a good thing.
Hey,
yeah,
the
absolutely. Yeah.
minivan's got everything I need.
I love
Oh
it.
my gosh.
what? We're here to talk about Women's History Month today, and the history being made right here in our city in St. Louis definitely is great with the mayoral race. Just a few weeks ago, in our primary election for mayor, two women received the top votes. Current treasurer Tashara Jones and current alderwoman Kara Spencer. Both move on to the general election next month, and that means that St. Louis, either way, will have another woman mayor, and that's making a real mark in history. Another single mother would be in the position, either one of them. And STL TV sat down with both of them. And we're going to share a portion of our conversations with each of them. So, ladies, let's talk. We'll start with Tashara Jones. Here's Ivy Hartman with Tashara Jones.
Tashara Jones is no stranger to elected office. She has served 2 terms in the Missouri House of Representatives and is currently the City of St. Louis Treasurer, a position she's held since 2013, and one she says uniquely prepares her to be mayor.
It's a citywide office, just like the mayor, however, not as stressful as mayor, I might add. But, the leading a staff of hundreds of people, managing a budget of millions of dollars, making sure that we're being good stewards of government funds. These are all lessons that I learned in the treasurer's office. Also, how our city works, where the money goes.
Lessons, leadership and policy making, all experiences Jones believes will lead the city forward.
While I was treasurer, I opened the Office of Financial Empowerment, which was a program that I saw actually in San Francisco and Chicago, and called those respective treasurers to learn more about how they did it, and then brought it to St. Louis, tweaked it for our environment and let it roll. And then also we have the College Kids Children's Savings Account program, because I believe that, financial literacy and empowerment is one of those things that helps everyone, no matter what party you are, no matter your background, your color of your skin.
Ensuring St. Louis is an equitable place for everyone is a big part of Jones's platform.
I believe that when we put racial equity at the center, because St. Louis is one of the most hyper segregated cities in the nation, when we put racial equity at the center, everyone succeeds. So we're going to be paying strict attention to our policies, our procedures, our spending, and putting racial equity at the center of all of those decisions.
I'm glad you pointed that out. Racial equity is, like you said, at the pinnacle here in our city. Do you see another challenge that's really staring you in the face as you if you transition into being mayor?
We cannot ignore our reputation as being one of the most violent cities in America. And we need to put the public back in public safety. And what that means to me is, number one, declaring gun violence as a public health crisis and using everyone at the table, our flagship universities, our business community, philanthropy, faith, civic leaders, everyone at the table, not just in St. Louis City, but in the region, to address crime and public safety as a region, not just as a city.
This is Jones's second run for mayor.
Ladies, let's talk about Treasurer Jones. I got to start with you, Teena Love, on this one. Jones will
Well, I just love it.
yeah. She is going to face
Yes,
off against
she is.
Alderwoman Kara Spencer.
Yes, yes. And I think she's got some great ideas. I'm really excited. And then the idea of the financial plan for families, I thought was exciting. So, you can't go wrong either way. Tashara sounds like an outstanding candidate, though. I'm really excited for her.
Okay. Well, I got to bring it to you, Amber Clear.
So I think that she is an amazing candidate for bringing financial literacy to the
Yeah.
community, because that's something that I wish that every community had. And she's got a lot of experience in a lot of different worlds, from nursing to running a restaurant and all kinds of stuff, and being a caregiver to her mom, all kinds of stuff. So I think she brings a unique perspective and a unique background.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts there, Amy?
Well, I just have to tell everybody, if you've not seen Tashara Jones's TED Talk that she did here in St. Louis, you must go watch it, because it tells the entire backstory of who she is and her why. And that, look, I got goosebumps, because
Wow.
it's that it's that motivating, that inspiring, but it's a real person telling all of our stories of our journeys that we've went through as single parents or caregivers or people turning us down. But if you go and watch her, I know I'm sure it's on YouTube, but her TED Talk, it tells you about who she is. And that shows in her work and that shows in who she is today. And I can't be more excited for this, and that's actually the first time I met her was after her TED Talk. And I was just like, you're an incredible woman, that pretty much tells you how I feel about it.
Jami, chime in. We've got Treasurer Jones making waves some more.
I think it's interesting. We have not had a mayor, a potential mayor of St. Louis City in a long time that has previously held a citywide office already. And so I think that's going to be history within itself, but also, just the experience. I think it's amazing. Tashara just has done some amazing things for St. Louis and for the region. And one of the things that I noticed most about her is her ability to touch outside of St. Louis. And I know we love St. Louis and we're always thinking here, we have to keep it here. But it's interesting because as we think about the potential for growth and doing things beyond St. Louis, I just think that's one of the interesting pieces. So I'm excited. I'm excited that we're going to make history just by having only two women on the ballot. I mean, who would have thought? We just elected our first female mayor, just 4 years ago. So I'm ready to make history again. And I think this is a special time. Even if you don't live in the city limits, like this is history making for anybody who has a tie to the community.
Absolutely. And there's so much history there coming from a legacy of service of sorts. And she's not unfamiliar with the work. For me personally, she's a fellow Hamptonian. And I've seen her amazing ascension and challenges and how she rose over them personally. So shouts out to Treasurer Jones. Jones will face off against Alderwoman Kara Spencer. Now let's hear a portion of my conversation with her. Being the mayor of a city is a lot of responsibility. Why do you want this position?
I love this city. We have such incredible assets here in St. Louis, but we have a lot of structural issues. And I'm ready to take our city in a new direction, one that can position us for real growth for the first time in my lifetime, quite frankly.
Well, you're among a few candidates for this role. What makes you stand out? How are you different?
First and foremost, I'm different because I bring a breath of fresh air, a fresh start to City Hall. I'm the only candidate who has not run for this position before, and some of my opponents have run several times.
What do you feel are the most important qualities of a good leader?
Good leader is somebody who sits down and listens, most especially with people with whom they disagree. I have been a consensus builder since my first day at the Board of Aldermen, working with a diverse coalition of aldermen and other regional leaders. That's why I've been able to get a significant amount of bills through the Board of Aldermen, legislative efforts that are citywide in nature and much bigger than just impacting my ward.
What do you feel is the most pressing issue or problem facing our city right now, and how would you make it better?
The number one issue by far is violent crime. And that's why I put together a comprehensive 10-step plan that will start to address violence on day one. I worked with experts across the nation who have been successful in other cities at addressing violence. And if elected mayor, I'm going to bring those practices and programs here to St. Louis.
All candidates pledge racial equity as a cornerstone in their decision making. But what will you do differently than the other candidates to ensure this?
I've pledged racial equity and I have walked that walk by passing real significant policies that have made a real difference in the lives of St. Louisans, starting with passing the toughest municipal legislation in the nation, reining in predatory payday lending. When I learned that the biggest disparity in health outcomes in residents in the city of St. Louis was in emergency level visits for asthma, I went to work and brought in an air quality control monitoring program to the city of St. Louis for the first time in over a decade to make sure that asbestos and other contaminants aren't destroying the air that our residents breathe.
Thank you for your time and responses and your good work, Alderwoman Spencer, and success to you in your campaign. Ladies, let's talk about Alderwoman Spencer. Jami.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, when you mentioned earlier about two single moms running for office, I think so many women can relate to that. And it's not just about whether you have children or not. I think it's just we all are familiar with that story and familiar with you kind of just have a little something extra to really do it the way the single moms do it and give that extra push. So I think it's going to be amazing. Some would consider her to be new to the scene, but those that know her or are familiar with her campaign knows that she's been doing things, in the background, or may not be the most popular as far as like you haven't known her for 20 years or know her family, but she has been on the scene for a while. And I think she's committed to St. Louis as well.
I think so too. Amber.
These are both young women. I mean, they're both in their 40s, so that's super young for politics. And Cara Spencer has been known in my friend circle for a while, and we jokingly call her the cleanup woman, as a good thing, because she cleans up these empty lots, makes sure that people can acquire them after like a year of mowing. She reopened a pool. She's a mover and a shaker, but she sometimes stands out because she is so vocal. So sometimes I think women get a bad rap for that, but I think she's moving and shaking. So
sure. And with so many ladies in the space and at the table, we're probably going to see a real shift. Chime in, Amy.
But right now, during this entire COVID situation and everything we've been through, we keep hearing about how women have to stay home, they have to quit their jobs, they got to fulfill all these needs at home. And now you have two single mothers that are coming out here and just taking our community by storm and saying we're going to stand up for each other and a positive change. And I couldn't be more excited for both of them. Like, I just can't, they really empower me, and they make me feel like I can do more, I can do it. And I appreciate that fact that they've been very positive, or not even negative about each other, but just positive with the whole campaign and what they do.
This is a new era. The fact that they're not mudslinging on each other.
Right.
That's amazing.
Right. They're supporting each other by being so positive for us, which makes it harder for us, but they're doing what it should be done, and how they're leading by example.
Yep.
Absolutely. I really like the way this looks and how they're operating. Teena, I'm gonna let you finish out the thought.
Yes, well, I'm excited that Cara has some experience working with other cities, in particular around violence, and she talks about how she wants to bring some ideas from other cities to St. Louis. I think, we've all been talking about for a few episodes about how pairing police officers up with maybe social workers or, other people to come on the scene for certain types of calls and all of that. So it sounds like she's got some great ideas. So I'm looking forward to it. At the end of the day, these are two women that St. Louis is going to be, lucky to have. So either way, it's going to be great for St. Louis.
That's terrific, Teena, and I really appreciate the sentiment. And along with that, I guess for me, I'm excited about the ability. Cara's a real go-getter. She's ready to work. She knows how to work. She's got some true stamina, and she's not afraid to go into the spaces in the rooms and make our grievances and her voice heard. So I definitely appreciate that. Thank you all. There's plenty of women's history being made in St. Louis. One woman in particular, a dear friend of mine, has had a major impact. When we come back, let's talk with Build-A-Bear founder Maxine Clark about leadership and her new initiative, the Del Mar Divine. Stick around.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry angry giant! Behold, the angry giant! It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
And welcome back to the show. Let's talk about women's history. You can't talk about history in St. Louis, women's history in particular, without Maxine Clark. She is the founder of Build to Bear Workshop. She invests in women-owned businesses and is heavily involved in education and nonprofits. Her latest initiative is Del Mar Divine, a Cortex-style complex for nonprofits. Jami and I had a chance to talk with her. Let's take a look. Maxine, it is truly my greatest pleasure to have you joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Great to see you. I've missed
Well,
seeing
it's
you.
Women's History Month. I'm so very proud of the history you've made and the opportunities that you've created for the rest of us. And then right now we're talking about how you bring it all to the middle in your great work with the Del Mar Divine. Will you tell us more about it and what was the inspiration behind it?
Well, the inspiration is really St. Louis. St. Louis has a wonderful history. It has a bad history. It has things we wish we didn't do. But if we don't face into them, we will do them again and again and again. And so in my work in St. Louis, I came across this particular neighborhood, the West End, because we were building a school there, the KIPP school. We were taking a building that had been closed by SLPS. And one day, I literally took a right turn instead of a left turn. And I went from around the corner, and I was passing this building when they were putting the for sale sign in. And I go, oh my gosh, what are they going to do with a building this size that's empty and nobody's there? It'll fall apart like a lot of beautiful buildings do. It wasn't a beautiful building necessarily at the time, but you knew it had good bones. And I called up my friend Dennis Lauer at Cortex, and I said, Dennis, you got to buy this place and turn it into Cortex West. He said, I'm too busy. We've got too much land. Why don't you do it? Yeah, why don't I do it? So I did it. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it exactly, but I knew that Cortex was part of the inspiration because it had been doing something in a neighborhood that had been, desolate, and it had been bringing a lot of people together to work towards good outcomes for St. Louis economic development. So why couldn't we do this in the nonprofit sector? Because we have over 16,000 nonprofits in St. Louis, believe it or not, and they don't necessarily all work together except in a crisis like we've just lived through. We started this building project 5 years ago, so long before we knew about the pandemic. But the pandemic has given us more reason to move forward and to really work our tenants together for better outcomes in the future when something comes upon us that we didn't expect. And then for all the things, if we can do that well, we should be able to do all the known things much better. So that was really, the inspiration was the city of St. Louis, all the historical buildings in this particular neighborhood. Houses run from about 4,000 to almost 2 million in the same neighborhood. Pretty interesting. And also that it has a rich history at the turn of the century, the 19th to the 20th. It was a very diverse neighborhood. Immigrants, middle-class Black and white families lived here or lived very close to the edges of the neighborhood. And it was a good part of town because it had all of the amenities that you need. It had shopping on Del Mar. It had churches. It had the trolley that went all the way downtown. It had a De Bolivar shopping area. People could walk to their work and have jobs. But as you know, most of that changed in the 60s as shopping centers opened up and jobs and shops moved. And also as housing changed in St. Louis particularly, but in a lot of big cities with Brown versus Board of Education, everyone could go to better schools and people were moving to neighborhoods where they could go to better schools. And that caused quite a bit of change in the population structure, but still remained a good neighborhood with a great history. And this hospital was built in 1904. Some of the buildings were built then, and then over time, they added other buildings. And this is about 8 acres with buildings that also were built in 1951, 1961, 1962. I think the last one was built in 1965. So it's all considered historic at this point. And I don't want to tear it down. I wanted us to build it up and to remember that it cared for people and to still care for people, but in a 21st century way.
That's amazing. So many people, have success here and then kind of just level out or move away. Why St. Louis? You have stayed committed and really made a conscious effort to not just grow personally in the region, but really stay committed in helping others grow in the region and show up in spaces and places and now create spaces and places like the Delmar Divine. Why St. Louis? Can you tell us why you've made such a committed effort to this city?
Well, when I was transferred to St. Louis in 1976, and I lived in Lafayette Square. I lived in the city in a building that I could never have afforded in Washington, D.C., where I came from right before this. And I just fell in love with the history of the city. I met my husband here. We have friends. And I became committed to the city, even when I was transferred out to New York or to Topeka, Kansas, when I was the president of Payless Shoe Source. I always wanted to come back to St. Louis. It has its challenges, but those are things worth fixing. And we have so many incredible, talented young people in our high schools all over St. Louis who actually want to stay here if they can. They might want to go away to college, but they want to come back to opportunity. And we have to make sure that those opportunities exist, because I'm telling you, every day I meet a talented young person in St. Louis, at least one, maybe many, many more, who just need a little direction, just need a little connection, one connection or two connections to get them. They're not on a bad path. They just don't know what the right path is yet. What do I really want to be when I grow up? And how can we help them on that journey? Because I'm not grown up yet. None of us are. We keep evolving. And that's how we stay young and how we stay engaged and interested and not become irrelevant in our society. So I stayed for all the reasons of St. Louis, but mostly the young people. And I met many of those young people at Build-A-Bear. Build-A-Bear is now almost 24 years old. And we have a whole generation that came through our stores that I consider we made a really big investment in the maker generation. These kids don't want to buy a teddy bear off a shelf or anything really. They want to put it together. They're really smart. They know how to do that. And they're creating businesses all over our country. And I get the fun of doing that too. That's one of my side hustles, is to mentor about 15 young African-American entrepreneurs across the country, male and female, just blowing the roof off their business, doing so well because they're so smart, and they also know what's missing in the economy, and they're creating it. And this year of being able to work from home, being able to use Zoom to learn so many new things has really helped them skyrocket their businesses very quickly. So I'm excited about that too. And I want them to come, if they're not in St. Louis, some of them are, but most of them aren't, to come here and run their business out of St. Louis. It's a great place, middle of the country. You can ship your goods anywhere pretty quickly at a good price. You can have a home here instead of a teeny tiny studio apartment in New York City. You can hire people at good wages and have really people who want to engage with you and want you to be successful. So that's why I stayed, and it's getting better. I think it's on the road to getting better as we sit here and talk, not just our healthcare and the new American Rescue Act that will help so many families in St. Louis and other places, but because it's hopeful and people can see a future ahead that's not so dark and dreary in their living room all year long.
I love it.
Maxine, I see a direct connection between your ability to see what's possible in spaces where potential could lie but is often overlooked. You chose the building because of its potential and the historic nature and what could be done there to allow that space to help fuel and grow and build and strengthen our community. You do the same with young people. You may see a young person that's like that, the potential of that hospital, and even the Build-A-Bear. I don't think it's an accident that you're calling it Delmar Divine. You are led by a passion, a love, fun, and vision. As you are mentoring others, encouraging others, this here is an extension into the nonprofit space. I see that as an extension of the work that you're trying to do here in the community. What do you want us to do or how can we even create that same mentality to get on board and help fuel our community in the same way?
Yeah. I think if we look at, I count this neighborhood, the Delmar Divine Project, and that we just changed one letter, the D for divide, to an N. And the IN stands for investment, innovation, and inclusion. And I think that's how we have to look at all of St. Louis, that we didn't come through this terrible year, I hope, to go back to something that wasn't good in the first place. There were many things to play off of that were positive, but there were also things that we could make better. And so that's really how I look at it. And this is a neighborhood. Approximately 1,000 people will be living and or working in this building in the next 2 years. And that's a neighborhood within a neighborhood. And so if we thought of ourselves as neighbors, we may not live in the same neighborhood. I have friends in Normandy, I have friends in Clayton, I have friends in Wildwood, but they're my friends still, and not think of it as that's someplace I can't go or I wouldn't go, or I don't need to be. Instead of saying, gee, let's go over there and have lunch over there. Let's go shopping at the Target on Halls Ferry. Let's go see what's going on. And honestly, that's another thing that helped me during COVID. My husband and I went to deliver our Christmas gifts to our friends, and normally we would get together at, go out to dinner and exchange gifts, but we went to their homes. We went dropping, Santa Claus dropping off, and we went all the way out in North County to down Patterson Road, past Vale, to what used to be cornfields, to these beautiful, I would call them McMansions, those beautiful homes, like and it was a beautiful day, and people were out in their yard, and there were Black families and white families and older people and young people. And I said, this should be seen all over St. Louis. This is really a great neighborhood. And I'd just never been out that far. I just hadn't gone. And then we went to drop off another gift, and it was closer in, but the cutest little neighborhood right behind a high school. And single young people were buying those homes and remodeling them and saying, I want to live here. Single women, single men saying, I want to be in a neighborhood. I don't want to live in an apartment. I want to live in a neighborhood. And that's also building generational wealth. You're buying a house at a good price, and then you can sell it and buy a bigger house. And that's something that needs to be afforded to everyone, that opportunity. And so it's mostly prevalent for our young people because they have the energy to do it. They're young, they're starting out, they have this job this year, next year they'll have another job, but they're moving forward and they're moving up. And that keeps, honest to God, it's a little selfish. It keeps me in the groove of what's happening in this world. I don't want to be, out of the trends. I want to be in the trends. What's going on? What do these kids like in music? What do they like to talk about? And also play grandma sometimes, even though I'm not a grandma, keep them on the straight and narrow, because everybody needs that. And sometimes you hear it better from somebody you're not related to than somebody that you are. And I know I feel that way. I used to listen to my mother's friends much more than I listened to my mother, even though they were repeating the same good advice. It just sounded different. It sounded more objective. It sounded, less, like my mom was trying to punish me. It was somebody was uplifting me. And I think about that a lot. So I am having the time of my life, actually. I think that this is really fun, developing, recreating, reimagining. All of us in this world that are creative are dying to do that every day. And we have a lot of great properties we could be doing that around in St. Louis. So there's no lack of opportunity here.
Absolutely. And your excitement is so contagious, and I definitely want to plug in and be a part of that as well. You are a tremendous inspiration, a true testament to women and the ability of a dream and how to build something with what we've got. So shouts out, tribute, and kudos to you, Maxine. And thank you for sharing that vision with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
I tell you what, she is so inspiring, and I just love her to pieces. And I can't wait to see the impact of the Del Mar Divine. That's going to do it for us this episode of Let's Talk. Let's make it a date. You be with us every Tuesday, and we'll stay up on all things and help you stay connected to St. Louis. Stay connected by following us on social media, STL TV. We'll see you next week.